Hey y'all, welcome back to Weekly Hyperfixations. If you're new here, I'm Riot and welcome on in. And basically each week I just go through what was relevant to me in the week. The past couple weeks have been a little jank because I am also in theater rehearsals and I am the lead role. And I haven't acted in on stage in 7 years at this point. I think that's right. So, it's hard to focus on anything besides the work I'm trying to do because it's been so long. But I think this week we're more solid than we have been. I'll be so honest. Also, we are back in our normal setting. I don't actually care that this is on screen. This is a drink that's from Japan that is way better than I thought it would be. I was really worried. I was thinking about it a lot. Cuz I was under the impression that this was basically water. It's not. It's more like Gatorade. But I was so confused because it had sugar in it. But now I get it, and it tastes kind of like a vitamin C tablet. So, anyways, we need to get into it. I'm getting distracted already. Okay. Pretty much everything on here is just a silly, goofy time or an overall good time, which is great. Let's go ahead. You know what? Actually, we'll start with something that I actually talked about, I believe last week. Last week, maybe it was the week before, but I think it was last week. I talked about this little animated series that I had barely heard of, but recognized the art, called Chicken Nugget, and how the creator was resigning because BuzzFeed was going to feed the entire show through AI to train an AI model. And so, she publicly shared that information, and I read her statement verbatim last week on that episode. And I've got great news. We've got a new statement from the creator of Chicken Nugget. BuzzFeed has confirmed Chicken Nugget will not be used for the AI-supported project. Thank you so much to BuzzFeed for hearing us out and wanting the best for chicken. And thank you so unbelievably much to all of you for the massive support on this as well as the understanding while we worked through it. I'm grateful that the studio leadership heard us out and worked with us on a solution. I will, in fact, be staying on Chicken Nugget at BuzzFeed and continuing to make the show as we intended. Which is so nice to hear a company, for once in this climate, actually listening to what the public cares about, first of all, and also the people that they are hiring to do the creative thing. They're actually listening to those people as well, which is really nice for a change. Still not on the BuzzFeed train, but it's better. You know what I mean? So that was really good, and I was really excited about that. NetEase, who does games like Marvel Rivals, sent a cease and desist notice to a website called Insist. Or no, it's Intsist, INT, right? Intlist, INTLIST. There we go. Because Intlist was a website where you could pay people to throw games. So you could pay someone to intentionally make their team lose, basically. And that is against the TOS of the game. So NetEase sent them a cease and desist. So that's really nice to hear because that happens a lot. And it's probably because of that website that it happens a lot. So in honestly a similar vein, and I will also be reading part of this verbatim, the Pokemon Company is suing the government here in the States. They are specifically suing regarding tariffs, though they can still send a cease and desist letter for the more recent tweet from the government, the head government building, shall we say. But basically it says, well, that's fine. I was going to be like, I probably shouldn't have my phone on screen, but I told you guys I'm reading it for verbatim, so I think it's fine. Alleges and states as follows. This action concerns the defendant's initiation and administration of unlawful trade measures that have, to date, resulted in the collection of more than $200 billion in tariffs on imports from nearly all countries. And the complaint focuses on the unlawful imposition of those tariffs, founded on executive orders invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 to try and justify it. So that's no huge surprise though, because, you know, we all on the internet, if you are on the internet a lot, you know how Nintendo's lawyers are, and by that I mean they're extremely good. So I'm glad that's happening. But I just thought that was really funny to hear, and I thought it was gonna be about the image they posted, but it wasn't. It was about the tariffs, which is also very understandable and arguably probably a better a more likely to win court case, just based on the fact that there's going to be more physical evidence, you know. But yeah, just wanted to point that out because that's crazy. There is this beautiful website that has launched very recently called Your AI Slop Bores Me. It's a wonderful website that is basically what is the word? It's basically satirization of how AI works and like how accurate it is and things like that. Your AI Slop Bores Me is a website in which you put in a prompt and a real person has 75 seconds to answer your question or your prompt or whatever it is. And it's very funny because apparently a lot of people have been asking for Yowie and or Yuri on that website. And so many people who are on the, you know, receiving end of the prompts and are tasked with completing them don't know what that is. So all of those answers are very, very funny. I've got one in particular that'll be on screen as I talk about it, but someone asked for a story about a cat, and basically it was like, you know, cat going down the street, man going down the street, man sees the cat, says hello kitty, and then gasps and repeats hello kitty. And then it's basically like, oh yeah, that's John Sanrio. Like, it's really funny. I'm a big fan of that one. But a lot of the answers are kind of like that. They're either someone making a really great joke, or, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of great hits being spread around. I'm sure there's misses. on like super mild answers, but it's very entertaining that the most popular technically AI related website is a website that is specifically being in protest of AI by saying, genuinely, why would you have a robot do this for you and waste all of this energy when a human person can take 75 seconds to do it themselves? You know what I mean? So I really like that. I'm enjoying that a lot. This is just a silly, goofy thing that I saw in a couple. I saw this in various phases of informational stuff, but the Chaotic Case Files podcast, well, what is the word? It's a I think there is a visual version of it, but it's supposed to be like a audio novel, basically. And excuse me, my God. Woo. But that Chaotic Case Files thing, they have an episode with Infinite from Sonic fucking Forces, dog. They bring in Infinite, who is voiced in the Chaotic Case Files by Alejandro Saab, which is funny because that means they didn't get Liam O'Brien to reprise his role as Infinite. And they also replaced Liam O'Brien with Alejandro Saab for, I think it was a Persona game. So that's really silly, goofy, actually. You know, what is the fucking phrase? If I had a nickel for every time they replaced Liam O'Brien voice acting a character with Alejandro Saab voice acting a character, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. And I just thought that was really funny. I also really like that Alejandro Saab is like totally rolling with the punches of all these people joking about like, oh, he's everywhere. Yo, this Sayu really sounds like Alejandro Saab. What is up with that? Things like that. And he's just rolling with the punches. And I think that's honestly great because he's got a lot of steam right now. And honestly, with voice acting, I think you really got to roll with the steam you're given as much as you can, just in case, you know? So that's really great. This is an additional thing that I was looking up for unrelated reasons this week. So I was looking up what college Bernie Sanders went to. I don't remember what the context for it was, but I remember I was having a conversation with my partner and somehow Bernie Sanders came up. So I was going to look at what college he went to. I don't even remember what it was, but I did want to share that and I just went to his Wikipedia because I know it'll just have an answer. But it has like a 5.5 minute voice clip attached to embedded into the Wikipedia page to basically be like, oh, here's a sample of his voice so you know what he sounds like. He's got a pretty notable voice. You know, he's a Jewish man from Brooklyn. Like, he's got a very distinct voice. And I just wanted to read to you all, and I think it's very relevant. I wanted to read to you all. I've got, you know, a screenshot. You can barely see it, but you can see that there's something circled. It's the description of the soundbite embedded into the Wikipedia page. Bernie Sanders' voice. The clip is 5 minutes, 28 seconds. Sanders speaking against the Iraq War, recorded on October 9th of 2002. Just wanted to share that with the class. I was, one, when that voice clip dropped. So obviously I didn't know what was going on in the world, but I thought that was funny to see in a way. Not funny, but like it was a humorous coincidence, shall we say. A humorous happenstance. I'm starting to talk like Oriange again. I gotta stop doing that. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with the class because I thought that was very, very funny. And that's something that isn't necessarily related to something I hyperfixated on this week or anything like that. It was just something that I looked at and went, dog, that's crazy. To see today, in this month of this year, that is crazy to see with my eyes right now. So I just wanted to share that with the class because that really stuck with me. I was like, it's really funny that that's the clip because it almost feels like a jab at current happenstance. That the clip of him is from talking about basically the same fucking thing, but over 20, almost 25 years ago. Almost. Anyway. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. A little side tangent. I have a lot of friends who got to go to Emerald City Comic Con this past weekend. Surprisingly, not a lot of personal FOMO this year. I was pretty okay with not being there. Just because like I'm so busy with theater. I wouldn't have been able to go anyway, even if I had tickets and all that. I wouldn't have been able to go anyway. But there is one thing that I thought was very, very humorous that happened at Emerald City Comic Con. If you've never been to a Comic Con, there'll be a panel, which is, you know, either some famous people on stage talking, or maybe it's about story writing or making video games, and people knowledgeable in the subject will be on stage. And basically it's like you're watching a lecture almost, but it's more fun because it's not school. Basically, I say that as someone who likes school, but lectures can be really slogging. But so there was and also a lot of times with these panels, there'll be a little section at the end where you can ask a question, and that's not always included, especially if it's someone like, well, actually, I think at Comic-Cons it's usually pretty commonplace, but sometimes it doesn't happen for whatever reason. But there was a Gravity Falls panel at Emerald City Comic Con because Alex Hirsch was going to be there, the creator. And well, and also that's basically half the cast because he voices so many characters in it. But I wanted to point out this one beautiful clip I saw. And I only saw it in a full video clip. So unfortunately, I don't really have a picture for it, but I will try to find a picture of the panel itself, maybe. Or maybe just the Emerald City Comic Con announcement that he was going to get that picture. But someone asked him how he feels about the headcanon that people have that Dipper is trans. Okay. And we are talking FTM trans. Okay. And he was like super down with it. And hey, that's just a chill thing to do. Also, like, you know, a lot of people have that headcanon for Dipper because of his demeanor and because of, like, usually twins that are one AMAB, one AFAB kid, usually they look different because they're like that. You don't usually get I don't even know if you can get twins that are identical but different assigned things. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of where that comes from. If you weren't familiar about where that comes from, that kind of headcanon comes from. Also, there's a lot of episodes where Dipper struggles with masculinity. And, you know, he's also just an awkward teenage boy, but it is a very popular headcanon. Also because a lot of trans guys that grew up watching that show really can see aspects of themselves within Dipper, I guess, for lack of better terms. So, you know, to hear the creator himself be like, that's a great headcanon, that's a great idea, is really affirming to a lot of the fandom, honestly. And also, it will shut up the homophobic people who somehow exist in that fandom. So that's great. And I really like that. Also, there was a drone show that they did off the pier in Seattle, which was really cool, but that's not really related necessarily to him, but there was a drone show Bill Cipher, and I like that a lot. Anyway, the final thing I want to talk about before we move on to the pyramid is we got a full trailer for the Mario Galaxy movie. And we got revealed some other characters, and we got the reveal of 3 voice actors, including Yoshi's. And I'm gonna leave Yoshi for last, of course, because he's the bigger reveal, technically. On technicality, he's the bigger reveal. As I've mentioned a couple times, this may be a Super Mario Galaxy movie, but it kind of feels like it's combining Galaxy, Odyssey, 2, and Sunshine. So it's combining like at least 4 games, if not more. I guess 5, if not more, because there's 2 Mario Galaxies to pick and choose from. But we are getting I think it's Honey Hive Galaxy. So we will be getting Queen Bee. That's one of my favorite levels in the Galaxy games is Honey Hive. Mainly because I think the Bee Mario is really funny, but she will also she will be voiced by Issa Rae, who, if the name doesn't ring a bell, that's fine, because I've only seen her on screen, not in a voice acting role. She is President Barbie, if you saw the Barbie movie. That's President Barbie. I really got to work on my enunciation, y'all. I worry that you can't understand me sometimes because I said president instead of president. I don't know. Anyway, theater's getting in my head a little too much. So we're going to have the Queen Bee and Honey Hive Galaxy. We're also going to get, and this surprised me a little, but it's also understandable because he's from one of the only games where Bowser's not the enemy. Actually, that might be the only game, the only mainline Mario game where he's not the enemy. But we are getting Wart. Of all characters, I don't know, I didn't really expect Wart. And now hold on. I'm blanking on who is voicing him. What the hell? Hold on. Luis Guzman. That's, the most recent Gomez Adams. He's going to be voicing Wart, which is absolutely so good. Thank you. That's also that scene where all of those ninjas attack Peach in the casino level, which is an interesting combination of a lot of things. There's also a lot more characters that you can see that are definitely from Super Mario Sunshine, which is exciting for me because I really like that one. Oh my goodness. There we go. So I was also just, again, in general, very surprised to see Wart. Because I thought Nintendo was ignoring him. So it's nice to see that they're not. And then finally, the big reveal was they shared with us who Yoshi's voice actor is. And I really like the direction they've gone with both Rosalina's casting and Yoshi's casting, where they go, these people are genuinely really big fans of the franchise. I guess also for context, if any of you missed the episode where I talked about who was playing Rosalina, it's Brie Larson, who most people know her name off of Captain Marvel. And I can't remember what the other thing she was in is. I mean, she's also in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but that movie's over 10 years old at this point, and not a lot of older adults saw that movie, so just in case. But Yoshi is being voiced by Donald Glover, which I was not expecting. But honestly, considering how big of a Nintendo fan Donald Glover is, and how much I enjoy things like Community and Childish Gambino and things like that, I trust absolutely. Do I think people are going to be nasty about it? Yes. Yes, I do think people are going to be nasty about it. But I think it's great. People are just like that, which is so unfortunate and sucks so much. And I really wish people were at least not verbose about it on the internet. Like, if you're gonna be mean, please just keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? I miss when people would keep that shit to themselves. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the pyramid. This week, the pyramid was the difficult thing because I knew I had enough to talk about in general, but I didn't know, people or characters to put on the pyramid because I haven't really necessarily interacted with anything super new. So we're kind of remixing it a little bit. And well, actually, I'll talk about that when I get to that. First up on the pyramid, last week, I think he was much higher up on the pyramid. I don't remember. But because he's everywhere, I went, sure, yeah, he can be in the pyramid again. First up on the pyramid is Alejandro Saab, mainly because, gotta respect that, I didn't know about this guy, basically, until, what was it? I don't think I even knew his name off rip until Marvel Rivals. And to be fair, I do not watch anime in English at all, ever. I do not watch it in English. And then on top of that, the other things he was in, I don't think I was into. So I hadn't heard this guy's voice a whole lot. I'd actually heard more about the Sayu side of things, which is funny in retrospect, but it's really cool to see, as someone who is interested in voice acting and would like to do something like that, or at least try it. It's really cool when, everyone around you is being like, that's really hard to get. It's really hard to consistently have jobs with something like that. You really need to wiggle your way in to be able to get to the point where you have enough work to sustain yourself off of this one job. It is so encouraging to see someone who I didn't really know until maybe 4 months ago-ish, something like that. it is so encouraging to see someone who I wasn't familiar with online. When people are talking about him, the comment is always, this dude is in everything. I see this guy in everything. Why is this guy in everything? Because that means that someone relatively new has broken through the dam, basically, that has been keeping him from all the opportunities. He has broken through that dam and successfully gotten on the other side of that. And that is absolutely huge. And it's really encouraging to see someone new become popular in that kind of space. That's just amazing. So that's why Alejandro Sub is on the pyramid. Next up on the pyramid. I keep rattling the table, I'm so sorry. Next on the pyramid, and this is really silly. This is the sillier pick because it feels out of left field. I really like to watch I like watching compilations of sillier moments, because especially of streams, because there are lulls in the actual stream and I'm usually busy and I don't get to see the stream live of honestly anyone's stuff, but this one in particular. I know there's got to be lulls in there. So I've been watching a lot of compilations while I'm doing other things because that's good for my ADHD, and I also get to get through a lot of things that I want to see while doing that. So next up on the pyramid, of all people, is Germa985. I genuinely think basically where I'm at with Germa is, he used to substitute teach a lot, and he really gives off substitute teacher energy because, sometimes his chat will be unruly, like kids in a classroom and things like that. And he's, and I think part of my brain really misses that vibe of being in school because I haven't gotten to finish school, but I haven't gotten to finish school, but I do miss that environment. I really enjoy, sure, school is hard, but you're getting to do all of these things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do completely on your own. Walking into an art room and just using the supplies in the art room. You didn't have to pay for those supplies necessarily yourself, but you can use that, things like that. It's I think it's a lot of nostalgia for being in school. So hearing someone who kind of sounds like, oh, I'm doodling in a classroom and the substitute teacher is talking to the other students, that's great. Love that. That's why Germa's on the pyramid. Also, Germa is just genuinely funny because sometimes his reactions feel very non sequitur. And I think that's just absolutely perfect, if that makes sense. Next up on the pyramid is Donald Glover. Absolutely, because I am excited to hear that he's been cast as Yoshi. And again, just to have someone who's a big Nintendo fan be able to work at Nintendo under any capacity is huge. And like I said, I really like Community, and I really like why did I forget what it's called? Childish Gambino. And it's very clear also that Donald Glover just is a nerd and has passion for nerdy things. And despite fame still carries that passion, and that's very good. So I'm very excited to see his performance as Yoshi. I'm way more excited about the second Mario movie than I was about the first one. I'll be so real with you. So it's nice to see that like everything seems to be going great. You know what I mean? Next up on the pyramid is Alex Hirsch. He's up here because probably one of the most normal dudes. And I know that sounds very contradictory to Alex Hirsch as a person, but to me, a normal guy should be, you know what I mean? Like, he is what I think a normal dude should be like. He is chill about, you know, a lot of like headcanons and fan interactions. He's really chill about all that kind of thing. Everyone I know who has met him is like, he's very nice and clearly loves the craft. Absolutely loves the craft. But also, anytime I see someone on Twitter, some political person on Twitter, giving out some bullshit opinion, almost every single time I am seeing it because Alex Hirsch has ratioed the hell out of that other tweet. And it is always so witty and funny and so concise as well. It's so good. And I think that's a cool dude. And I think every dude should aspire to be cool and chill like that. You know what I mean? Also, it'd be super bonus points if every normal dude was creating something as cool as Gravity Falls. You know what I mean? Next up on the pyramid, and I want to preface that I haven't talked about this because I haven't actually watched it because I don't want to support Netflix. But it's One Piece, so you know what we're doing. But and I didn't even write his name on here. I just wrote Zoro. But next up on the pyramid is Makenyu, because with everything with season 2, it's sounding and looking like Makenyu's got it on lockdown, actually. Listen, I don't know about what everyone else is doing, but I trust in Makenyu's performance, and I trust that this dude is going to be as accurate as he personally can be, because he genuinely loves One Piece, and he genuinely loves getting to work with Oda. And also he just hangs out with Oda, which is crazy. But also just like, he is very clearly genuinely honored to be who Oda chose to play Zoro. Every clip you see of him around Zoro's Japanese voice actor, he obviously looks so fucking excited to be there. And just, he very clearly has the correct passion and everything. I mean, if you look at, there's a pic side by side going around of him from a previous thing he was in. I think he was like a prince or something. And it's a picture of him shirtless. And you look at that. And then you look at him as shirtless Zoro in One Piece season 2. His arms are like 3 times bigger. He went, no, I'm giving you correct Zoro. I am going to show you real Zoro because I am being trusted with that. And it is very clear that he's taking it very seriously. And I'm very, very glad that someone's doing it. You know what I mean? So Makenyu is on the pyramid for those reasons. And then I left a very silly one for the top of the pyramid. But also I feel like with the impact thus had upon my life in general, kind of weird that I don't think he has been on the pyramid before. The top of the pyramid this week is Jacksepticeye, which of course I wrote on here Sean, but you know, I've been watching his videos on the Spadicey channel. They're usually very funny. They're not as long as Let's Plays. And they're silly, goofy fun, very STEM, autism heavy. So my brain really likes that because I'm also like that. So seeing someone I've watched on YouTube for so long also indulge in like silly, goofy things is really nice to see. But Sean's also on the pyramid because like in, you know, I started watching Sean probably about only a year into him being on YouTube at all. Like I remember when he used to suppress his accent and things like that, and then he got more comfortable, and then, you know, but I've been watching Sean and you know, all of Jacksepticeye for so long that I feel like it's almost weird I haven't put him on the pyramid before. I don't think I have. Oh, actually, hold on. Maybe I did when Dispatch came out, but I don't remember. But that I put him on the pyramid. If he was on the pyramid when Dispatch came out, it would have been purely for Dispatch. And I haven't really, you know, shared with the class that like growing up that's the person that was my YouTuber, and we have circled all the way back to where that is my YouTuber again that I watch. So, and of course I watch other people, but like both me and my dog watch Sean's videos. So I've also gotten through the 24-hour Happy Wheels music video more than once, and I'm currently going through a third one, though this one is technically not me going through it. Technically it's my dog. In order to make my dog have less anxiety about people being gone, it helps her if there's someone talking that she can hear in the room with her. So we put on videos for her when we leave the house. She's basically an iPad baby without actually watching it. But the video we've been putting on for her more recently is the Happy Wheels movie. So yeah, I think she's probably halfway through it by now. She might be to green-haired Sean already, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I wanted to put Sean on the top of the pyramid because, you know, silly, goofy guy, but also someone who's been basically incredibly influential to how I view YouTube. I wasn't super big into Markiplier, except for the FNAF videos, really. And more recently, especially in like the past 2 years, really. But I was watching Sean very, very early on. So definitely the most influential of and consistent of the YouTubers I've watched in my lifetime. And that caps out our pyramid for this week. I'll be so upfront with y'all. I am debating for the first time taking a brief break. I'm considering canceling next week's episode because next week is Tech Week and thus opening week for the play I am in, and I am the lead role. So, it's a lot. And I don't know if I'm going to have time. I don't know if I'm going to have the time to do it. And I also don't know if I'm going to be able to put together my notes next week. And I'm going to hold off and I'm at least going to wait until Monday to make an announcement if I'm going to cancel it. And of course, if you see no announcement on the like community post section of my YouTube channel by Monday, then that will mean I'm not canceling it. But there is a possibility that I will take 1 week off. So, you know, but it would only be that week because, excuse me, the next week, we don't have any rehearsals during the week, I don't think. We just have the more performances. We might have like a pickup rehearsal, but that'd only be one day. But, you know, I'm nervous as hell, by the way. Literally had my first panic attack for the first time in like 4 or 5 years at rehearsal. So that was fun. And that's a little bit more information than I usually share with the class. But like, that's why I'm considering canceling next week's episode. You know what I mean? But I'm not entirely sure yet. So I will make an announcement on all my socials and in the post tab here if that happens. But I also don't think I would go necessarily for a leading role again. Maybe for like a Shakespeare, but that's because Shakespeare plays are so long and the main characters are not in every single scene like this one. So for those, you get longer breaks in between things and you get time to calm down and stuff. No such thing in this production. So, you know, but I'm going to be so tired as well. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and leave off there, I suppose. If I do not, and if I end up canceling next week, my impulse is to say my apologies, but also I've been so stressed out that I know that if I can't do it, I shouldn't try to force myself to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty hard for me to not do this because to me, it's very important to do what I say I am going to do. So saying I have an episode, you know, this day, this time, you know, when I say next week, same time, same place. So it's very hard for me to let myself have a break. So I'm considering canceling next week's episode. Not confirmed. Excuse me. Not confirmed. But it is very possible. So I guess just keep on the lookout for that. And you know, the obligatory, if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And honestly, I'm chilling regardless. I'll be so real with y'all. I do this because I want to, and regardless of viewership, because I'll be so honest with y'all, I don't really look at the numbers, but even if no one was watching, I would still do it because I enjoy having that routine, and I enjoy, it's basically practicing this kind of format. And there's no harm in it. But so genuinely, thank you all to those of you who do stick around and watch and all that jazz. With that, I'm going to end us here. I hope you all, as always, have a great weekend and a great week next week. And I'll see y'all next week, hopefully, unless, of course, I end up canceling. So do keep on the lookout for that in the posts tab and on my socials. But if I don't cancel, I'll see y'all next week. Same time, same place. I hope y'all have a great one. And hopefully I'll see y'all then. So bye y'all.